I'm moving forward every day, Jesus. I just let him lead the way every second, every minute, every hour of the day. I'm moving with Jesus every day. 24/7 with Jesus every day. 24/7. I'm moving with Jesus. I'm moving with Jesus every day.
Welcome to JC 24/7. Last week, we started our conversation on the road to intimacy and its pitfalls, a significant topic, especially as we consider the challenges we face and observe in society. This discussion must be had in the spirit of Christ, who has the solution for all our challenges. Pastor Sampson, help us shape our conversation for today.
Thank you very much. And, we are talking about this journey to intimacy, a space within which one is required to make oneself vulnerable, but at the same time to have the assurance I will not get hurt. That space when the real you is given. One can, if it is meaningfully engaged, can certainly experience profound joy. If, on the other hand, it is badly managed, your worst pain can be had. It is discourse then I would have come to understand, only in my own personal journey, but in the reading of the Holy Bible, when God says in the Holy Book, don't be wise in your own eyes. There are some things that your eyes can't see that need to be seen. But don't be wise in your own eyes, but in all your ways to acknowledge God. And he will direct your path. And I think that's a rather significant piece of injunction as one seeks to relate to this journey called intimacy. Having the Supreme One ordering your steps.
Yes.
In Philippians 1:9, God wants our love to abound more and more, but he wants it to abound with knowledge and with judgment. And relating to this intimacy from God's perspective can give rise to great victory, great joy. And I believe the discussion we are having, if heeded, can give to individuals a clear path to now go with God, who can pour love into your heart so that you can understand who you are in order to share with another and so solicit from another in a caring manner to the point where someone is stopped to do one of two things: stop and think and thereafter behave, all because you are loving so profoundly, because you would have discovered it, God ordering your step. The person now has to think, and the natural outcome of that, a change of behavior, not because you are forcing them, but there is growth. So this journey, yes, is a meaningful one, but it's precariously poised with a lot of red flags and pitfalls, and God is saying, now, don't be wise in your own eyes. Don't go there by yourself. Allow me to order your steps.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Pastor Sampson. Last week we had a beautiful discussion, a healthy discussion, if I must say, as we chat and we really got into some of the concepts around intimacy and relationships. We spoke a lot about red flags. And, certainly for me, I would have learned a lot. I'm sure our audience also appreciated some of the ideas and the flags that were shared and what we all should look out for. One of the words that was shared in terms of a behavior or a personality challenge is that of narcissism. Yes? And this is a word that gets tossed around a lot in our selfie-obsessed, self-love, celebrity-driven culture, often to describe someone who is excessively vain. Daniel, from a psychological perspective, what is narcissism?
Narcissism is that excessive interest in oneself. It's a selfishness that is coupled with entitlement. So you believe that you're entitled to people's time, money, everything that someone has, you believe that you are entitled to that. Mm-hmm. It also has the trait of lacking empathy, the inability to connect with people, people's feelings, people's emotions. That's gone. Mm-hmm. There is a lack of empathy there, and there's also a need, like you said, vanity, that need for admiration. Always want to be praised, always want to be to the forefront, always want to be seen, always want to be heard. So that in itself is a nutshell of what narcissism is.
Okay. And from a relational perspective, of course, we are speaking about a narcissist or narcissism as it relates to intimacy. Petra, what does a narcissist possibly look like in terms of a relationship?
In terms of a relationship, if I were to build on what was just shared in terms of selfishness with entitlement and always want to be seen and heard, it's difficult to converse with someone like that. Because in a relationship, I mentioned the green flags last week. And one of the major green flags, the first one, in fact, was communication. Mm-hmm. So it means if there is no effective communication in a relationship, you start off bad already, because communication builds the friendship that is a precursor for a relationship. When a narcissist, a person who is consumed with self and wants to be the limelight and gaslighting, your conversations with such a person would be very difficult. So that's going to impact the relationship negatively. Constant put down. We use gaslighting. Let's put it another way. How are you looking, sir? Gosh, die where you born. You getting so fat? Da, 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 da. Or make some, really scathing remarks and then say, I didn't mean that. But you're already feeling badly because it's a put down. Or they will only call you or relate with you when they want something. So you might be speaking for 3 weeks, but then something is needed. So you have charming behavior. Narcissists can be very charming because they know how to sell themselves. So the charming behavior turns you off. So there are some narcissists who are abusers, and when they're done, they say, sorry, I didn't mean it. I really love you, If it is, you make it happen. You see, if you didn't do this, and narcissism. After spending time with a narcissist in a relationship, you feel badly, and you wonder, I'm in a relationship with this person, but I am feeling so bad all the time. I am feeling put down. I cannot share good things, because if I share good things, the narcissists, as I said last week, they have a better story to tell, and because they like to be at the limelight, their story would supersede your story. So something you ended up sharing as something good turns out to be not so good, because the narcissist, whether male or female, because it's not a male trait, it's male or female, the narcissist has a better story. Yes. And then you have the aggressively competitive. So instead of being in a relationship with each other, you are in a competition with each other. So if you look good, I must look better. If you speak well, I must speak better. If you do this, I must get that. Competitive in the relationship. And then, of course, you have the narcissist, as Oscar would have mentioned last week. In a relationship, you share. We talked about that. And you have trust and vulnerability, and you share with each other. You don't withhold things. When you share with a narcissist, they use what you share against you. And you think, I should never have shared. In other words, a narcissist will bring drama in your life. So be very careful about that.
I think, Petra, just to build on what both of you would have spoken about, when we look at a narcissist, it's someone who has an inflated sense of his or her own importance and ego, They don't deal in reality. They are functioning in a vacuum where, in fact, more of a bubble. It's more of a bubble because you now become the center of attention. And you know what is interesting? Very often, these people have a lot of insecurities. So many insecurities that the average person will think, when you see them dress, they want the attention. Oh, you look good today. or they're smelling well. But the reality is they are fighting with so many personal issues, but they project this image because they don't want you to really get up and close. They don't want you in their personal space so that they may not know something, but they always have to appear to be in control and knowledgeable. And when they speak, they want to speak authoritatively, and you can't question them. The challenge is the way they speak, you feel so inhibited to even say, you know, I don't really agree, but you are so fearful. But because they lack so much empathy, they have no problems trying to embarrass you, to put you down so that they could look as though, yes, I'm the best thing. This is a serious challenge. And when you bring that into a relationship, tell me, how do you communicate the first scene? That you spoke about that.
There is no confusion.
How?
Correct.
You can't even make yourself vulnerable.
You are not even an individual, so there is no one-on-one, as Dana was mentioning, in terms of 100%. You are less than 100%. The narcissist is 100%. And the unfortunate thing is that a narcissist doesn't know that she or he is a narcissist.
Okay.
As far as they're concerned, they have good, healthy self-esteem.
So, you know, even before we go there, you know, Daniel, you were sharing with me that there's a thin line. And, you know, I found that so interesting in that there's a thin line even in terms of diagnosing someone with narcissism. Share with us this thin line.
Well, as I was sharing with you last week, there's a thin line between narcissism and culture and tradition. And a lot of people, a narcissist, as Petra told me last week as well, they're able to mask. It's very hard to notice who this person is under what they are bringing forth, under what they are portraying. And when you have to define, okay, this is a personality disorder, or this is just cultural upbringing, social upbringing, it's very, very difficult because they portray the same thing. So you can see somebody that has this lack of empathy and this selfishness, but at home, that's all they knew. They weren't able to express themselves. They weren't able to connect with their parents. They were not able to talk about things and be vulnerable. So they have this wall. I don't care about what anyone else thinks. It's all about me. I am focused on doing for me. I'm focused on just me being for women, the independent woman. And for the man, I need to get it all and that kind of thing. And that's just culture upbringing. And then you have the narcissist, which is the person who, they just lack empathy because I don't care. Full stop. I just don't care. And they're very egocentric, like what you were describing. It's about me. I'm thinking about myself without any regard for anybody or anything, because this needs to be about me. And like Dr. Ocho said, their self-esteem in terms of insecurities is so low that they need to portray this person because they don't know how they feel about themselves. And we spoke about that last week as well. They don't know who they are and they don't know whose they are. So they are always questioning themselves and they project that onto people, making people feel the way they really feel. And that's truly what a narcissist is.
And you know, Dana, as you spoke there, what is particularly challenging with a narcissist? When they tell you something and if you react, they always make you feel as though you didn't hear them correctly.
Yes, that's where the gaslighting comes in.
Yes, no,
they're distorting that reality.
I never said that, and they will say something completely different. The second time around, and you asking yourself, am I cuckoo? Is something wrong with me? Because I thought, because I thought I heard you say. And therefore, at the end of the day, it's nothing about I have a problem, but you. You have a problem. And you could imagine a wife who is dependent on a husband who is the breadwinner.
Wow.
And he's a narcissist. Who has to make sure the food is cooked. If it doesn't have enough salt, what happens?
Bacchanal.
What happens if something goes wrong with the children? Who is to be blamed? You're a bad mother. You're bad this. You're bad that. And the reality is, this doesn't happen only to people who don't know Christ.
True.
It happens even to people who sometimes are providing leadership in the body of Christ, whatever religion you belong to. And it's such a challenge, except we get in contact with Christ, who will control our egos. This big thing we have in our heads about who we are, and recognize that Jesus was the best example of somebody who had a balanced ego.
And
he was a servant leader.
You talk about someone who knows, and it is so sad that the reference can be made that can be found in the body of Christ. And I think it's because even at times our theology facilitates some of those brokenness.
True.
I think the word know has to be looked at for what it truly is, because knowing has 3 levels. You have the exposure to, you have the understanding of, and then you have the experience with.
Wow.
And there are many persons in the Christian space who may have the exposure and even the understanding, but the experience with is lacking, because the experience with is when God takes over and pour his love into your heart. Therefore, you begin to function differently. I also believe that there is this entitlement. My sister referred to the entitlement that those persons go with, and that can be taken even into the bedroom. Well, you are now my wife.
Yes.
And I'm the best a man anyway. I deserve to get what I should get. And you are subjected to me. And sometimes our theology support that broken thought that a wife is submitted. Wrong understanding of the word again. So we see how it is necessary for the precursor, the entrance into intimacy, got to be well ordered. And in so doing, ensure that God is with you, engaging the mind of another person.
And if I should just mention that when you look at narcissism, it is the antithesis of what the Bible advocates. It's on the opposite end of the continuum. When Christ said, husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church. How did Christ love the church? Christ went after the church.
Yes.
He died for the church. He keeps forgiving you over and over again, except the songs we sing in wrong and the Bibles we quote in the Bible we quote in wrong. And there was even a point when, and Christ always used the marriage relationship.
That's right.
And there was a point in time when he went after the children of Israel in terms of symbolism, when they were out in the wilderness looking at probably problems in relationship, remember? And when they would describe, I'm trying to remember if it's Ezekiel in terms of adultery, and he went with his garments, that's the greatest symbol of intimacy, and gathered them up.
That's right.
Even though they had strayed so far from him.
Yes.
And the Bible used words like committing adultery and prostituting themselves with other nations. And he went as the spouse and gathered them to himself. That's the highest level of intimacy for someone who doesn't deserve it.
That's right.
So I don't know where these narcissists come quoting the Bible for their own purposes to talk about self, because Christ's example is servant leadership and humility, and that's what he tells the husbands to do to your wives. And maybe if you start doing that, you would have less problems.
Have mercy.
Because I think for the Christian man whose life is empowered by the gospel, his love is not the crazy, fleshly, lustful moves. It is a love that carries a divine power.
Yes.
That when it is consistently and meaningfully given, it causes creation. It's not waiting for the object to be lovable before love is given. But you love the object for the object to become. That's the power of the gospel. And that's why God is saying to us now, don't be wise in your own eyes. Come right back to me for that to be realized.
A man or a woman who is narcissistic, when it comes to the whole issue of intimacy, as we grow older, with the vicissitudes of aging, and with the challenges associated with chronic non-communicable diseases, that very often acts as a bridge for infidelity because I still want to prove that it is not me who have the problem, but it's you who have the problem. So it's really about helping us to understand. And Petra, that point that you made is so important. It's not about the act.
Yes.
But it is that experience, because God who invented intimacy,
That's right.
God who invented it, that's why it's a holy thing.
Yes.
That's why there is an emotional connection
Yes.
that you have. You can't give your petals away like that, because after a while it will no longer be a rose but a stalk.
I want to get a little controversial with the whole concept of feminism and how that may have, as a society, how that may have fed into women now having certain tendencies. It's my body, whether I'm married or not. It's my body, I can do what I want to do with it. I can abort when, who, what, and why. How does society as a whole, not just for feminism, but how does society feed this concept of narcissism and even applaud it? Or the traits, I should say, of it, and even applaud it. Who would like to take this?
You take me back to my previous occupational role in sexual and reproductive health. And you see, one of the things we realize is that when it comes to the whole issue of sex and sexuality, the power of the male has been cancelled. He had the power of the pocket because he was the breadwinner.
Yes.
Now she is earning
Yes.
more than he is. He had the power of the pocket. That's my wife. That's my house. Now she wants to get what she has and then invite you to be part of her family. She wants to enter a relationship. He had the power of the penis, where whenever he was ready,
Yes.
you had to be there. You could be washing. You had to leave the clothes there soaking. Go put on a work, he will sleep, and then you get back to take up duty. Now she decides she's a professional. So she says, not today. I have some assignments to finish. I have this to do, that to do. So you have to hold on. And by the time you are almost ready, here comes the visitor. 5 days more, you have to wait. And you can't fight it because she has power. And what happens in that relationship, he has been so cancelled with all the power that he has. And you have the voice. The female has the voice. She knows how to, without being rambunctious, as we would say in local parlance, she knows how to use her voice effectively. And what does he have? That ego is so bruised and emasculated that all he has is the power
Of the hand.
But Oscar, that don't have to be negative as a feminist.
I hear you.
I don't say. Feminism is not a bad word.
No.
In fact, feminism is what accounts for women being able to assert themselves, not necessarily negatively. Feminism is about bringing, of course, there are different aspects of feminism, right? So I'm a Christian feminist, right? Now,
That's an
based on,
oxymoron.
no, not necessarily. Because if feminism seeks to look at equality for women and also men, now this male breadwinner thing, that doesn't apply in the 21st century. And if persons see each other as equals, Pastor Samson, if I'm married to you and you want the best for me, and I am intelligent, you will push me to excel.
Definitely.
You would say, go and study. I will stay with the children. You go and do it because I am in this area. You need to go and sit in class to study. You do that.
Yes.
I don't need to go and
That's
sit
right.
in because you are pushing me, Amiyuka.
That's right.
When you push me and I get a bigger job, we are sharing expenses. You understand what I'm saying? We are sitting down because we know how to communicate. So it doesn't mean that because you are male, and that has emasculated a lot of men who are not breadwinners when they should not be emasculated. If a guy isn't making $10,000, it doesn't make him less than a man. And we shouldn't, some people tell a man, you're not a man because you're not providing and you're not. A lot of our young men are being emasculated because of that tradition we are pushing on them. It doesn't make a man no less a man if his wife is working for more money than him.
No.
It doesn't make a man any less than a man if he is pushing his wife to be a professional. Once you have communication, honesty, respect, integrity, security, and trust. All these old issues about breadwinner and sex and who in charge and who is the head and who is the neck will not play, because you have two whole persons coming into an equal relationship where the roles can switch at any time, because the only role given in the Bible is go and take care of the earth and save the animals. Eve wasn't sitting down under no tree waiting for Adam to go and bring stuff for her to eat because she was working. Both of them nurtured, both of them worked. So,
And I want to add to that, but from a slightly different perspective. If only the gospel is internalized by women, they will come to understand that they came wired with power. They don't need to get power. That's where the feminist movement moves away from the real woman. You are now describing the real woman. A woman comes with real power. Every man, and I've said that on several occasions, but let me say it one more time. Every man is driven by three emotions. He wants comfort, significance, and he wants to be on top of his game. And anything or anyone who can satisfy those three in one given experience will hold him captive. And who can do that? A woman can do that. She can. A woman come with. That's why God saw that Adam should not be alone. For him to be the fullness of who he is. That wasn't a mistake by God. God was lining up things for us to understand how much we need each other. And if only we can come to understand that biblical perspective to feminism and our maleness, and not tap into those broken ideologies or theology. If we do that and go with what God says, and we got it right there, you can satisfy, you can bring to bear that which is required.
And just to add to that, in terms of what Sister Petra was saying, they fail to realize that both parties at the end of the day benefit from this.
That's right.
Instead of fighting each other, and we are one body, they're trying to be two separate individuals doing their own thing. No, in terms of marriage, it's two becoming one. So whatever you do benefits me, whatever I do benefits you. So we shouldn't be fighting against each other to see who's right, who's more powerful, who has more say. We should be working together, pushing each other as a unit. That's what we should be doing. And something that I learned really quick, controversial point here, and Dr. Ocho would understand where I'm coming from in terms of a BDSM relationship, in terms of a submissive. Something I learned when I was dealing with, sex and sexuality, you have to deal with that aspect. And they were, teaching us that the submissive actually holds all the power. They dictate the pace of the relationship. They dictate how everything goes, because the person that's the master or the person that's in control is the person that is doing everything to make sure that you're okay.
Wow. So this conversation can go on with one controversial question, and I know we are out of time, but definitely we look forward to next week's discussion as we continue this engaging topic. I want to thank Pastor Sampson, Petra, Oscar, and Dania for being part of this healthy discussion. I am Rhonda, and we look forward to seeing you next week.